So we're going to explore different ways of dividing with rational numbers. And in this case, not all of them will be whole numbers, but numbers that are fractions and decimals, and even a situation where I have both. I decided to write the first two division problems with a division bar, a fractional bar instead, because we do need to make sure that we can see these more complicated types of fraction division problems. But I still say them the same way, reading them from up to down. 3 divided by 3/4, or negative 3/4. Negative 53 hundredths divided by 1 and 2/10. And 5 and 4/10 divided by 1/3. And in each case, I'm going to do more likely either long division or some other kind of fraction one. And this is where the thinking work comes in. So when I read this, I know I have 3 divided by negative 3/4. We have a choice to make. Do we want to turn our fraction into a decimal and then do long division, or would we rather just keep it as a fraction and divide? I think most kids would rather keep this as a fraction and divide it. So I'll do the same. And just like with the other video, we keep the first number. We're going to change our division to multiplying, and we're going to find the reciprocal of the second one, or keep, multiply, reciprocal, keep, multiply, reciprocal. Kids say usually ketchup, mustard, relish to remember it. So I'm going to keep the first number, multiply, and our reciprocal is 4/3. I'm not too worried about the negative right now. We'll deal with that at the end. So in the end, I have 12/3, which is an improper fraction. 12 divided by 3 is 4. And because I know I have one negative number, my answer is going to be negative 4. In my second case, I have 53 hundredths divided by 1 and 2/10. So 53 hundredths is divided by, so I know that's in the house. But I know I can't divide by 1.2. I had to change it to a whole number. What I can do is I can multiply this by a factor of 10, moving my decimal. Nope, my decimal is over here. And move this by a factor of 10. So that is even. That's creating 12 into 5.3. I can take my decimal and just pop it straight up because I don't really want to think about it while I'm dividing, and just divide like normally. 12 cannot go into 5, so let's put a 7. But it does go into 53 4 times, making 48. Remainder 5. And I can keep on adding zeros now. If I wanted, like there's an imaginary 0 here, but it means I can keep adding a 0 there. 12 goes into 50, another 4 times, that makes 48. 2, and again I can drop another imaginary 0 because we divide to the thousandths place, or 3 numbers after the decimal, and 12 goes into 20 once. And I don't worry about this anymore. But my number now becomes 441 thousandths. I can round this to the nearest thousand, 441. It's either going to be 44 hundredths or 45 hundredths. Because of this one is much closer to 44. So I'm going to round down to 44 hundredths. And my last case, I have a decimal and a fraction. So you have two options. Do you want to turn your decimal into a fraction, 5 and 4/10, and divide? Or do you want to keep it as your fraction at the end, your 1/3, and divide it by 0.33? Because of the nature of the number, dividing by 0.33 seems like a lot of work. I'm going to guess that most kids would rather do this than long division. And it's really up to you. If you want to do the long division, you can. But I do have to change this into an improper fraction by multiplying. 5 times 10 is 50, plus 4 is 54. I have other videos on how to do that if you're not sure. Remember, keep, multiply, and reciprocal, just like the first problem. 54 times 3, that's a big number. So why don't we just figure that out real fast? 5 times 4 is 12. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 is 16. So I get 161 over 10. And 10 can go into 161 16 times. I can just do that with muscle memory. That's 160, and I'll have 1 left over. 1 over 10. So I have all my answers. Let's just make sure they all make sense. 3 divided by negative 3/4. I got 4, and it has to be negative 4 because one of them was negative. Negative 0.53 divided by 1 2/10. I end up getting 44 hundredths. But wait a minute, it's a negative here. So I should make sure my answer is also negative. I'm glad I went back and checked. So that would be negative 0.44. Well, negative 44 hundredths to say it correctly. And in this case, I had two positives. 5 4/10 divided by 1/3. And that kind of does make sense to me because every number, if I'm dividing it into threes, it takes 3 of them. So yeah, it would be about 15. So it makes sense. My answer is 16 1/10.